Hey guys, I'm going to talk about abandonment and the wound of betrayal, which I feel very alive individually and in the collective at the moment. As I went for a walk this morning in Broome, Western Australia, where I've been located for the last little while, doing my own healing, creation, and finding a lot of inspiration and motivation, I've been questioning this issue of abandonment. And this morning while I was walking, I journal a lot. And I'm going to share this more because I've been holding back and dimming my light a little bit the last few years. And I'm just going to share from the heart, from the hip, shoot from the hip. So the question that I was pondering while walking this morning was, why do we get so hurt and destabilized by abandonment and betrayal? It's one of those things that seems to be almost unavoidable for most, especially I think in Western cultures. But I think a lot of nations, a lot of races, a lot of people all experience this betrayal or abandonment to some degree. So we experience this myriad of sensations and responses to it, and it really can knock the wind out of our sails. And it sends us into our own, dark night, sends us into ourselves. And a lot of people that don't have the tools, this is where the vices, the addictions, the avoidance, the escapism, and ultimately the disconnect to themselves happens, is because that pain and that wounding of the betrayal is somewhat overwhelming for the system, and rightly so. And I've lived through this enough times now to have somewhat integrated this experience and to have a deep, I believe, understanding and awareness of the pattern and of the program. And so many others that I work with and support, and even a number of my clients at the moment, are experiencing abandonment and betrayal from people that they cared about and they loved. So I believe both sides of the coin are responsible for abandonment. There's the perpetrator, there is the victim, there's possibly a savior, which is the triangulation of the drama triangle. But the real gift and the real necessity in any of these painful situations is for you to take responsibility for yourself. And I know that it's hard for the logical mind to wrap its head around, but all of our experiences and situations, especially relationships, are a mirror of what we're feeling about ourselves internally. So how is this experience of abandonment so prevalent and so common? How can I, in my role today, in this day and age, be of service to more people and ultimately to the whole by being able to work through this and support people? Well, the deepest pain that I believe I can actually guide people through is something that I've lived myself. And it's to better process this experience. It's to accept the experience, and not to say that what other people do is right or wrong, because that's judgment coming in. But for us to take full accountability and self-responsibility, and to be able to really, and this is the important piece for me that I'm working on at the moment, and how I can also support others, is how do we metabolize that pain and that turmoil into something greater? To use the wound that we're feeling and carrying as the womb to birth a new level of self, a new level of awareness, a new stage, a new phase, a new story. And that's what I believe we're doing as a humanity at the moment. We are in the waiting room of the hospital, I'm looking for the word and it's like just there, where the midwives are, of the nursery. We are in the waiting room of the nursery, and the birthing is happening as we speak. And we are all, every single one of us, man, woman, and child, and whatever other identities are out there in the world at the moment, we are all a part of that birthing process and the death process, which I'll get to. So when you get to the depth of this most painful and symbolic wound, especially of the father, it's about being alone. The father and the masculine is about being alone. And Richard Rudd, the creator of the Gene Keys, speaks about this concept of the final father. Imagining as if there was this man and he was the only man left on the earth. He was the final father, the final caretaker. He'd protected the children, he'd protected the women, he'd learned, he'd evolved, he'd poured his heart and soul, he'd sacrificed, he'd given everything of himself to leave the world a better place than when he came into it. And then he was the final father on the planet. How would that feel? But that's actually his journey. That is the journey of the masculine energy. To then get all the way through to his death and to die alone, which if you look at indigenous cultures that are intact, like the Australian Aborigine, then the old men would walk into nature by themselves to die alone and to go back to the mother. But then knowing that in that death, the feminine is then birthing again. And the cycle repeats itself. The light's doing some weird stuff right now, but I'm here for it. So this father being alone and his whole process, his whole life around being on his own in the mind, leads him to the deep collective pain of the male psyche, which is that he has always been alone. And it's actually learning to accept that and integrate that, which creates more wholeness. And this is not just speaking about the male, it's about the male part of us, the masculine part of all of us. We all have masculine and feminine within all of us. And it's metabolizing that pain and accepting that the masculine and a part of his journey is learning to be okay with loneliness. And therefore, he can create the safety and the structure and the stability of being okay in his loneliness to meet the mother, to meet the feminine energy. And so that feminine pain is deeply connected, I believe, to letting go, releasing, shedding, surrendering, resting, slowing down, bearing life, creating, bearing that unconditional love like a child, and then having to surrender to the great life force, God, spirit, a higher power. I can only imagine a fragment of what it's like to conceive a child as a woman, gestate a child as a woman, birth a child, raise a child, care for that child, and to then slowly, lovingly, gently release that child into the world as an adult. It must be the most phenomenal project of a lifetime as a mother. But this is the feminine within all of us. Constantly releasing, shedding, letting go. You even, look at the menstrual cycle for a woman. Once a month, shedding, releasing, letting go. And we carry both threads in us, the masculine and the feminine, the father and the mother. And our greatest work, I believe, at this time is to harmonize both of these into a higher octave, into a frequency or a field of embodied living presence. Truth, masculine and feminine, father and mother as one. And then this was part of my process this morning. I'll flip to the next page. Sun, moon, earth. So the sun, the father in this case, to be protective, providing, present, devoted, shining his light, saying, hey, look, everything's going to be okay. We've got this. And turning up, the energy, playing with the energy, the sun, getting hotter, warming the climate. Those conditions of warming the climate, more heat. Heat creates expansion. Heat creates awakening. Heat creates evolution. It is consciousness. And then you look to the mother, the moon, reflecting back that consciousness, reflecting back the waves and the energy and the emotion and the flow of life, and combining those two forces. And this is our earth. This is us, the masculine and the feminine, right now being asked to balance. And it's not about us against them. It's not about the feminine rising, the masculine falling. It's not about the patriarchy oppressing and suppressing and overthrowing the matriarchy. We have got to find perfect equilibrium. And I believe that's actually what Mother Earth Gaia is doing moment to moment, is finding equilibrium, is finding a balance between all of the elements that we're talking about. And it really takes time for you to process and to reflect and integrate that you are a part of that process. You are not above it. You are not below it. You're right in the middle of it. And so even when the mother is nurturing, nourishing, reciprocating, and breathing love into existence again and again and again to keep creating, which is her nature, her divine nature, to keep creating. Like, look in nature, she is abundant. If you forget that you're not abundant, because you are abundant, you are abundance, just look, like I'm looking out the window, you guys can't see it. The abundance of leaves, the abundance of trees, the abundance of plants, the abundance of water, the abundance of blue in the sky, the abundance of clouds in the sky. She is constantly creating and being more and more abundant, hence the human population becoming more and more abundant. And it may have, maybe hasn't. It will reach its critical mass. And I believe, again, she, the Great Mother, the feminine spirit, will decide to shake her little tail feather and create a bit more equilibrium. Flick a few humans off the planet. I don't have a problem with that. It's the fragmented, this is a side note, it's the fragmented, disconnected, disillusioned masculine psyche, these weak men that are in positions of power that think that they can somehow control, manipulate, manage the force of nature with all kinds of crazy ideas. So for me, our great mission and our personal quest in these times is to integrate the man and the woman internally, to manifest the equilibrium externally, because law number one in alchemy, this is what Jesus was teaching, this is what Hermes Trismegistus was teaching, this is what many other teachers, Lao Tzu, the Buddha, the Kabbalah, they were all pointing to many of the same truths. And this first law is as above, so below, as within, so without. Our whole universe is a mirror. Our inner state is going to be reflecting outwards to our external state, which is going to reflect inwards. So heaven is not a place up there. Hell is not a place down there. Everything is here. To create heaven on earth, we've got to start with learning to love ourselves and to be able to integrate this wound of abandonment and pain. And so what I was really reflecting on within my little piece this morning was perhaps, and the Gene Keys and Richard Rudd speaks to this a lot, which I love. If you're interested in the Gene Keys, reach out. Happy to share more. Happy to speak about what it would look like to do a reading for you specifically and look at your coding and your shadows and your gifts and your patterns that are going to help you become the best holistic version of yourself. But when I was looking at this wound of abandonment, betrayal, rejection, I think it's our life's work to be able to integrate that pattern and pain. Richard argues that it even started when we were conceived and our soul had to leave wherever it was, the source, where everything was great, and it volunteered to come to earth, not knowing what it was getting itself into. But now what I'm seeing with breakups, with relationship difficulties, with separations, is this dance between couples, partners, doesn't have to be heterosexual, could be homosexual, but people haven't balanced the masculine and feminine within. So therefore they're manifesting the circumstances without, where there's this push and pull. And if you're not willing to turn in and actually look at your inner state, well, I've just got that shirt on, which is great. If you're not willing to look at your inner state, then the relationship you're in is going to manifest how you actually feel about yourself truthfully. And you're going to then get your lessons through your relationship, through that mirror. And if you're willing to do the work, you will evolve and you will grow and you will, manifest great things onto beautiful timelines and heal lineages and work through intergenerational trauma. But if you're just simply not prepared, or you don't know how to turn inward and look at yourself and take responsibility for you, well, then you're just going to keep carrying around the weight of the past and the unhealed parts of you. So I think abandonment is actually a beautiful gift. And within that, we want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be supported through what we're carrying. And as far as I'm concerned and what I've learned through science and also through spirituality and also through personal experience, is many of these wounds have happened for generations. Abandonment, betrayal, being let down by family members, basically being left alone, men and women, which then manifests all kinds of conditions in your life. And so it's a real opportunity and a privilege to be able to do the work to heal that abandonment. It's huge. That's all from me on Friday, the 20th of February. Might get this video up today so people can watch over the weekend or perhaps early next week. If you haven't checked out True Nature yet, the links are below. It's a beautiful community, global community of all the great people around the world coming together to do this work, to rise into greater levels of being, of service, of family, of connection, of being able to be a helper, be a leader, be a caregiver, a community builder. It's really important work for us to be able to do. The space is only just opening now. It officially opens on the 9th of March. But right now, you can get into that for a really beautiful offer of $444, and you get access for 12 months to everything in that ecosystem. Once it opens on the 9th of March, you can only access bit by bit, and everything's got its own price tag. It can actually end up adding up to well over sort of $1,500 if you decide to do things individually instead of just coming in and being a founding member and getting a lot of value now. Check it out. Ask me any questions, send me some feedback, and always like, share, and subscribe to this video and to this channel. Bye for now.